Hey, everybody, and welcome to another
Another.
great episode of Wedding Business TV with Brenda and Shay. Got that one right that time.
Yes.
Not just today. We're going to get back a little bit. It's going to be SEO related, but not technical SEO. And this is a term that you guys probably hear all the time, and you don't know if you're doing it or not. And that's white hat SEO versus black hat SEO. So, and a lot of people want to know what the difference is. And the difference between black hat and white hat basically has to do with the techniques used when trying to improve your website's search ranking. And it's all about how you manipulate the results, what you do to your site and off-site. Basically, again, it focuses on the manipulation of the search engines, and it's not focused on the user experience. There's that term again.
User
It's
experience. I
it's
know.
all about the search
It's gonna
engines
be our
and not
tagline.
the user experience. Exactly. And it's used mainly to get real quick results. You're not using it for long-term stuff. You'll see this in a lot of product. A lot of people that has a product, whether it's an affiliate product or something that they just want to move up in the rankings, and they don't
Really
mind
quickly.
for it to be do well for a few months, and then they get hit, penalized, and taken off. They just want to make their money. And what are some of the techniques? One is keyword stuffing.
So this is black hat.
This is black hat.
Yeah.
One is keyword stuffing, and that's where you put the same keyword that you want to rank for all over the place, and it just
Over and
doesn't look
over and
natural
over.
over and over and over. And used to, when SEO first started, that's kind of how you got ranked, is you had the keyword mentioned multiple times, and that's what Google, how they determined what you were about, and what you did. Now you can't do that. You can't, especially obviously you're still going to use keywords. You're just not going to throw them everywhere.
It has
The
to
other
be
thing
done in a
is
much more. It has to read naturally.
natural.
Yeah.
Yeah, relevant, natural. The other thing is hidden text,
Yes, I
hidden
remember this one.
keywords. This is an old one. And what some
Yes.
people, and what it is let's say you have a white background, and at the bottom of the page, they use the keyword 50 times and it's all in white. So you never know it's there. The only person that knows it there is Google, because they're crawling it. It's in the HTML. So,
Or somebody
and
else who knows to look for it and goes down and sees, oh, there's a
exactly,
big batch of space here. What is that? And highlights it and
exactly.
you see all the text. I remember that one being used a lot because when I got online for the first time and my first business website was back in 2000, and yeah, it was
Oh,
there was
yeah.
a lot more of that back then.
A lot more. And I remember talking to somebody back then who was talking about doing it. Um,
Yeah.
the next one is going to be blog content spamming. And we all get this all the time. If you have a website with a blog, you get spam on the blog. And it's a lot of times doesn't make any sense. And it'll just have a link and some keywords, and basically they're using some kind of automated system that goes out, and they just start going on websites and just posting comments, and somebody pays them to do that.
What's interesting is, I mean, sometimes the comments are blatantly, obviously
Oh,
spam,
yeah.
but sometimes they're just really generic, and there are a lot of people who will let those ones through because it's potential, oh, maybe they were talking about my content. All you need to do is go and see if they included a website and if it looks like a legitimate website or not.
I, and there's a few that I have almost been fooled by,
Yeah,
because the content was
they're
good enough,
good.
that because it was relevant to the topic that the
Yeah,
blog was on. But I look at two things. I look, if there's a link, I look and see where the link goes. The other thing is I look at the email address.
right.
A lot of times you can tell, because if it's a professional email address and it has a website name at the end instead of like Gmail or something like that, I will actually take that and plug it in and go to that website and see what. And a lot of times it's a foreign website. It's another SEO company in India that's doing something. So
So
I
you
know
can
then
check
that
it.
it's just spam.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, if you can't tell for sure, you can check. But this is, yeah, we're not talking about how to determine what is valid. We're talking about don't do that.
exactly, exactly.
Don't do
Um,
that.
Another one is scraping content. A lot of people don't like to write content. So what they do is they go out and they find content that's ranking very well and they scrape it. So whether it's them going on there and doing copy and paste or there's actual scrapers that you can plug in and they'll go out and they'll scrape the content and just blatantly put it
Plagiarize.
on the plagiarize is what they're doing. So obviously that's black hat. Another thing is paying for links. So if somebody is blatantly asking you to pay for a link, that's against Google's terms of service. I think there's kind of a fine line here. I want to dive a little bit deeper on this one. And I'm not saying go pay for links. I'm not saying that at all. But technically, you're paying for links anyway.
If you're in a directory,
If you're in a directory and you're paying for it, it's a legitimized paying for links. Where I get frustrated with this is, and I have personally seen this, and it's personally happened to our business. A fairly known website in the wedding industry, a niche. It's not a big one, but a niche. They posted a blog that for a wedding that my wife had done, and only the people that had paid advertising on that site had their link positioned better, and it was a follow link. Everybody else was at the bottom, a no follow link. So to me, I don't think that's right. That's just me personally. To me, that's being biased. If you're going to do a blog
it
post,
is.
have everybody be equal. So
Or if you want advertising, have
exactly.
advertising. But I guess
Oh,
advertising, paying for advertising is paying for links online
yeah,
too.
I guess it
So
is. It's one thing if I'm specifically paying for advertising. It's another thing if
yeah,
it's on a blog that they ask us to be on.
for the link. Yeah. So
Exactly.
it,
Exactly.
it's a hard one to kind of see a really clear line, but
Exactly. The next one, which is a big one, a lot of people don't know this, it's negative, what they call negative SEO on competitor sites. So let's say I don't like you. You're my competitor, right? I could either do it myself or hire a black hat SEO company to do what they call negative SEO, and that is to do things that is going to hurt your website. So basically, instead of me spending money on my own SEO to make myself better, I'm spending money
to
to
slam
make
others.
yours SEO worse.
yeah.
And a lot of people will do both at the same time, SEO and theirs to make theirs better and yours worse. And what happens? They do a lot of spam links to your website. They can do fake reviews on like your Google My Business. There's all kinds of different things they can do to do negative SEO on your website. I was researching some people here in Austin and ran across somebody. I was looking at their backlinks, and they had like 70 something thousand backlinks, and I'm like, how did they get this many? Well, I looked. They were all coming from foreign companies overseas, obviously foreign overseas, but the link anchor text was like Viagra and Cialis and stuff
Uh,
like that. So they were getting negative SEO. I contacted them. Technically, they were a competitor, but I contacted them and I even gave them the report for free. I'm like, whoever's doing your, web stuff, you need to have them take care of this and disavow it. So, and she actually sent us a gift card afterwards.
I would hope so because you
Yeah.
probably saved them a lot of heartache.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
But the results of Black Hat is you can get de-indexed from Google if it's bad enough. Minimal, they're going to penalize you and drop you in rankings. They could drop you from, first or second page to the 50th page, but they're going to penalize. Basically, they're going to throw you in a sandbox and say, "Bad boy, stay there." That's what they're going to do.
Is that the official
That's it.
term?
That's official. That's the email you get from Google. It says,
You've
"Bad
been a
boy."
very bad boy.
All right, so the next thing is going to be white hat SEO. And what is white hat SEO? Well, it's the good SEO. It's
It's the
you
stuff we
basically
talk about and say you should do.
exactly. It's the stuff that you're not going to go against Google's terms of service. You're focusing on the visitor and the user experience, and you're doing it for more long-term results, which I know I've said in the past, the way SEO is going now, if you do white hat, you're looking at like a 6-month minimum to start seeing results. So if you're not doing it start now.
It's not a
And those
sprint, it's a marathon.
exactly. Uh, some people will say, well, I'm going to do the black hat to do really quick, and then I'll work on that later. No, you shouldn't do that because it can still come back to bite you. Some of the techniques used for black hat, again, it's most of the stuff we talked about. Make sure you do your
Oh, for
keyword
white hat.
research. Yeah, for excuse me, for white hat. Make sure you're doing your keyword research and your analysis on your keywords, things that you want to be known for, things that you know that your visitors or your potential customers are searching for, and create the content around that. Another one, take care of your title, your tags, your titles and your meta description to be more relevant in the search engine results, so people will click and come on and go to your website. Your backlinking, make sure you're building backlinks organically. There's link out, or there's backlink outreach. So it's not black hat to contact someone to say, look, I see you have this blog post or you have this content on your website, and I noticed you spoke about this one particular thing. I actually have a blog that talks about that. If you want to link to it, great. That's not illegal. If they want to and it's relevant and they link, that's perfectly fine. But blatantly paying for one, you're not supposed to do that. Blogging and guest blogging. That's a great way to get more content, to get more traffic, and to do the guest blogging so you can build backlinks organically and naturally and get more traffic through the backlinks. Again, quality content, set up the internal linking. Make sure that whatever you have, whatever page they're on, that if you have supporting documentation, whether it's on your website or on somebody else's website, link to it. Again, this helps the user experience. You're just providing more information to answer their question if you don't particularly have the information on your website. You know, create your citations and directories. This helps build backlinks. It also tells Google where you are and what you're about. It talks, they know your brand, so it helps, natural SEO. And then your social media, of course,
Right.
and I'm horrible at social media. I know I am. I need to get better at
I'm not
that.
gonna argue with you there.
I am horrible. I just haven't gotten into it, but I know I have to get better at that. So, and I know,
It takes
and
time.
it
It's
does take time.
I mean, one of the great things is that it doesn't cost a lot of money, but
It
the
does.
barrier to
It
entry
takes
really
time.
is time.
Yeah, and it goes into the user experience
Right.
and the user engagement. That's what I'm looking for. The user engagement. It's because people, even though Google may not see exactly how they're engaging on your Facebook page or your Twitter, but if it leads them back to your website,
Right.
that's user engagement, and it's bringing more people into your website. So, the bottom line is just, again, quality content and build solid SEO.
No shortcuts.
No
Um,
shortcuts.
so that's black hat and white hat, but I've also heard the term gray hat tossed out there.
Yes. Gray hat. Um,
What is gray hat, Shay?
Kind of, it almost walks the fine line between white hat and black hat. There's techniques that you can use that aren't specifically against Google's terms of service, but they're not exclusively with Google's terms of services. There's always a gray area, um, and it can give you good results. It can also come back to bite you if Google decides that what you're using at that point, that's
Right.
gray hat,
Is now black hat.
is now black hat. If you've used it
Right.
enough, or if they can track it to you, then they can potentially penalize you for it too. And what are some of the techniques that people use for gray hat? Buying expired or expiring domains is technically black hat. I don't completely get that.
Is it
I
black hat
understand
or
it,
gray
but
hat?
gray hat. Did I keep saying black hat? I'm
That's
sorry.
okay.
It's
Black
gray
hat's
hat.
the interesting stuff.
It is. But I mean, there's a market for it. What
Yeah.
do you think happens if you don't renew a domain? It goes
Oh,
away.
I had a domain that I decided I didn't need and I let it expire, and it got snapped up so fast. I went
Mm.
back afterwards. I thought, well, maybe I will go get that one again, but it was gone. And there's no way anybody else was looking. they saw it was expiring, and I guess it had some value. And
I was going to say, did you have a website on it and had you build up some stuff to it?
actually, I don't think I had. So I don't
It
know.
was just
Maybe
a name.
maybe it's just the name. It was a good name. I don't remember what it was, but I know it was a good name.
But people are asking, why do people buy expired or expiring domains? And there's two different reasons, or there's two different benefits. If you're just starting a website and you buy a domain that has no history to it, and you just get it started, you're starting with no SEO value. You're starting from the ground floor. If you buy an expired domain, you get some of the SEO benefits that have been built up. Now, here's the thing. You have to know how to research to find out if it hasn't been used for like a spam site
Right.
or something like that. So I'm not saying run out and buy an expired domain and not knowing what's attached to it,
Right.
because these things can cycle through multiple times. And one website, the initial website could have been a great website, and the next one could have been a porn site. You don't know unless you know how to research it and what you're looking for. So if you're buying an expired, you're getting some SEO value out of it. If you then there's a different version. There's an expiring, so it's not 100% expired. It is about to be expired, but if you buy it before it's 100% before it's actually expired and you move it over, you get all of the SEO value associated with it. That's including the backlink. Well, you'll get the backlinks. You'll get the another thing is the domain age. So if you buy an expired domain, and let's say it has been around, it was the first time it was bought was 10 years ago, and has been in continuous use, you're actually buying. You would lose that age, which is actually a ranking factor, a domain age. If you buy an expiring domain before it's expired and it's 10 years old, you're actually getting 10 years worth of technical SEO and value built up
Okay.
before.
I need you to explain this one a little bit more for me then, just in terms of expiring versus expired. So if I'm a business owner and I have a domain and I need to renew it each year in order to, or whenever the renewal period is up, maybe I purchased it for 5 years and it's time to renew it again. So nobody else can actually get access to that until it actually expires. But I assume there's like a grace period or
There is.
something in there. And is
Yes.
that what you're talking about in terms of
Yes.
expiring versus expired?
Yes. There's a grace period. So let's say you let it go. And I don't know how long it is. It could be a few weeks or whatever, but there's like a process that it goes through, and technically, it doesn't reset itself until it's 100% expired. Now, if you buy it after it's expired, you're losing the domain age, but you still get all the backlinks.
Right.
But again, if you're doing something like that, you have to research it and find out where the backlinks are coming from. Are they relevant to what you want? Has it been spammed? All kinds of things. So
I guess, I
that
mean, that
is,
it's kind of comes into play, and I know I've had people ask before this, somebody in their industry, a competitor is retiring, for example, or
hmm
selling the business, and they ask, would it make sense for me to buy the domain since it's expired? And I guess technically you would get that link value initially, but if you were planning on, you're getting the link value for that brand. If you're going to change it over, if you're just going to redirect it to your website, or you're going to change it over to be your branding, I would assume you would eventually start to lose some of that value anyways.
yeah, eventually.
Eventually.
And that's what some people do. They'll buy the domain and just redirect it
Right.
to. So what they're doing is they have all those backlinks coming into that domain, which is good. It is providing powers, providing authority, and then they're doing a redirect to their website. That's one way of doing it. So it's basically funneling all of their link juice into your
Right.
website, which is building your website up. Or some people will just buy it outright and build a whole nother website on it. And there's even ways that you can go back and see what it looked like years ago and download and copy that information and put it on there. So you can have the exact same website with the
I
exact
know
same.
exactly what you're talking about
Yeah.
too.
Never done it, but I know it's possible.
So would that be black hat or gray hat?
that may still fall in the gray hat. I don't know enough about it,
I
but
I think really the a good rule of thumb here is do the white hat
yeah,
and don't try to do the gray hat by
yeah.
yourself because you don't want to be stepping over into the dark side.
No, and there's obviously a lot more gray hat techniques. One of them is article spinning. We talked about article scraping, and that's basically just plagiarizing, doing the same thing. Article spinning is where you take an article, and there's actually a program like an algorithm that will spin it, and it will change keywords, and you can take that basically a framework of that blog post and spin it, and you could technically have 100 different blog posts off of that one. It just keeps populating different keywords in it, and most of the time they don't even make sense.
Yeah, and that's not going to, okay, fine, maybe you rank on some of those key terms. It makes absolutely no sense. You're not going to convert anything from it, so it's pointless.
Yeah.
Absolutely pointless.
And then there's link exchanges. So this is in between the building organic backlinks and paying for links. This is, people that are conspiring, for lack of a better word, of
Organizing.
organizing links.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing as long as it's relevant and you're not, really trying to manipulate things because we have never shared links. But that's not for, me to say, hey, why don't I write a blog post for you so I can get a link on there? And as long as it's relevant to what you're looking for,
Yeah.
that may be fine.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on the intent, some of it,
And I
and how
guess
it's done.
anything really can be abused, I guess. And that's the
Exactly.
thing about those gray hat things that as soon as they start being, some of them are probably closer to black hat than gray hat. That article spinning is kind of,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that one's just pointless. There's no, you don't even bother with
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
But I mean, if there is something that's kind of technically gray hat, you could do it. Somebody's going to ultimately abuse it and ruin it. And if it ends up on the black hat list, then, you may have screwed yourself.
Yeah.
So I guess what our recommendation is there's so much to do just under white hat.
White hat.
Just focus on that. But at least you know some of the techniques that you should not be doing. And if you do have an SEO specialist working with you and they are recommending any of the things on that black hat list, run far, far away, run fast, run far.
Exactly.
So,
And if they can say, I can get you ranked in a month or two,
or if
I
they
would.
guarantee they'll get you on the first page
Exactly. You
for
can't guarantee.
something other than your company name.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
run fast.
Exactly.
So, all right, so there you go. Focus on the white hat, steer clear of the black hat, and leave the gray hat to a professional.
Yeah.
There you go. We'll wrap it up there.